a lot of the amazing things across the last 13 years of my life, including my wife and my son, may not have happened the way they happened without the band.
Welcome back to Foos Files, the podcast for fans of the Foo Fighters. Hope you're all doing well. It's Dan here, back with you for a short but sweet episode this week. And I'll let you in on a little secret. This is actually the second recording I've done. It's currently 7:10 on Tuesday evening here in the UK. I just wrapped up this week's episode, and there was me talking about how it's all gone desperately quiet in Foo Fighters land. Just pressed finish on the edit, and what have they gone and done? They've announced an Australia and New Zealand tour. So there's 9 dates from November through to January in Australia and New Zealand. So hopefully that's a bit of momentum now for what's to come this week, because as we know, we've got the Graham Norton show recording here in the UK on Thursday to be aired on Friday. Now we've got the Australia and New Zealand announcement. We just need some new music now, don't we? Come on, guys. You've been bombarding us with teasers over the past fortnight, and now it's gone quiet again. So fingers crossed, this is a sign of things to come. And there've been some rumours of a pop-up show in London emanating online. Merely speculation at the moment, nothing concrete, but we're all on standby anyway. So come on, guys. Typically, I've got a very busy day on Wednesday when this episode goes out, so you can guarantee that something's going to happen then, which we'll have to mop up next time. In the meantime, this week we've got another heartwarming story from Daniel Blackburn, who you might remember from way back in episode 7 of the podcast, because he shared with us a lovely story about his son, who is aptly named Taylor David, when he was invited on stage to dance with the band at a show in Belfast back in 2019. So Daniel's got another family-related tale for us here that goes back a few years earlier. Now, as you know, we love to share stories about the sense of community among Foo Fighters fans, and this one really exemplifies that, because Daniel's then partner and now wife, Nikki, unfortunately had a cancer diagnosis, which led to them scaling back their wedding plans, basically. That was until some members of the Foo Family Facebook group intervened. And it's a lovely tale of Foo fans doing what they do best, really, which is mobilising and rallying round to support fellow fans. And I'm sure there will be a lot of you out there who are part of the community who can relate to this in some way, because it's all about family, lifelong friendships, and that sense of community that exists because of this band. So it's a pleasure to welcome back to the podcast from Northern Ireland, Daniel Blackburn. Dan, light 'em up.
Dan, light him up one more time. Let me see all the people so I can see him before. Oh, shit. That's so many fucking people. That's a big-ass crowd.
We got introduced to the Foo Fam that summer of 2012 when the Foo Fam group was small. It was in the low hundreds when Nikki joined. I joined when it was about 600 big. So we started to get to know people, and then when Taylor was born, one of the members of the Foo Fam sent just a package of like clothes and stuff for Taylor, which I thought was amazing because, you know, I'd never really met or spoken to these people. Nikki spoke to them, but I thought, you know, these are basically total strangers. So that was kind of the start of it for me, where I thought, oh, this is cool. So then I started getting a bit more invested in it and started to get to know people a bit better. And then there was one of the members of the fam that we got to know from Scotland. She is a big Queens of the Stone Age fan, and they were playing Belfast. I think that was 2013, if I remember correctly. And she really wanted to come over. So she'd been talking to Nikki, and they kind of said, you know, should I go over? This was the conversation they had, you know, between her and her husband. She was thinking, right, I don't really know these people. They're essentially strangers off the internet, but, you know, I've got a good feeling, a good vibe. So she said, to hell with it. I'm going to come over. I'm going to stay with them, because we offered up. We said, look, spare room. We're going to the gig. Come with us. We'll have fun. So that person, Carol, we are like lifelong friends with now. We've been on multiple holidays together. We spend almost every New Year that we can together if circumstances allow, whether it's in their house or Scotland or here. So there's some of the relationships that we formed. And then Julia is the one that sent the package of clothes over for Taylor. She ended up being one of Nikki's bridesmaids at our wedding. And the reason for that is in 2015, when Nikki fell ill, what we didn't know is Julia had set up a GoFundMe style Facebook group, because we had essentially said with Nikki's illness and the treatment and everything, we would get married at City Hall and we just go to the local pub and that would be it. And Julia said, no, not having that. So she set up the group and a load of people contributed to it. And it's quite entertaining because one of the things that they added was tickets to Foo Fighters at Wembley. But obviously Dave stage diving in Sweden meant that the gigs were cancelled. So we didn't quite realise that everyone still really wanted us to come over because they wanted to gift us a couple of things, including, as a joke, like, we bought you tickets to both shows. So we said, right, sort of, we'll go over. We'll still go over. And we thought they were doing a reveal for something else that had happened, which again is the spirit of the group, because they were always doing really nice things for friends that they'd made through the group. But what they'd actually done is they got us tickets to the show, and everyone had a right laugh about that because the shows weren't going ahead. But they'd also funded our wedding so that we could just, ramp it up a little bit. We could pay for our honeymoon. And that was only like 3 years after first really starting to get to know these people. A lot of them we hadn't even met. A lot of them we didn't even speak to. They were people, maybe you'd comment on the same thread, or you'd maybe run into them at a gig and you wouldn't really know them. But the fact that they did that is, to me, I think just shows the community spirit. And I'm still, to this day, completely blown away by it. And it's definitely safe to say that friendships have been formed that will definitely last a lifetime, for sure.
We fucking love you guys. So we don't say goodbye because we know we'll see some of you again.
I would say just it's important to highlight the impact that the band have had, the lifelong friendships that exist now, the relationships that have happened because of the band, the kids that are in the world because of the band. So for me, it's more than the music, right? It's a way of life. Some people don't get it. Some people, they kind of question it. But for me, a lot of the amazing things across the last 13 years of my life, including my wife and my son, may not have happened the way they happened without the band.
Thanks once again to Daniel for sharing with us yet another feel-good tale from the Foo community. And if you've got a nice story about how much this band means to you, or how they've touched you in some way over the course of your time following them, then you could be our next storyteller. Drop us an email on foosfilespod@gmail.com. That's it for this week. So we've had the Australia and New Zealand announcement. Now we're on standby to see what the next few days brings in terms of new music, maybe a pop-up show here and there. Nevertheless, hopefully we'll have plenty to talk about next time, although I appreciate I did say that at the end of last week's episode too. But anyway, in the meantime, take care, thanks for listening to Foos Files, and we'll see you next week.